This is Marky Mark Markellis from Soul Wizard Podcast, and you are listening to the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network.
All right, let us begin our descent into madness.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people, right? You want people to care. You want to strike emotions, and I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one too.
Quarter pounder with cheese and France, Mickey. What? Boy, ale with cheese. Yeah, I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice up my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success?
Hey everyone, you're listening to Superhero Speak, and I'm your host Dave.
And John.
And JD.
And there isn't a lot to talk about this week, boys and girls, but we'll make do. So let's start off. How was everyone's week? How are you doing, JD? Anything new and fun?
Stand by, I got a 4-year-old problem here, sorry.
All right, well then we'll start with you, John.
Well, that was JD's week. They're right there. You just got a really good microcosm of it. Yeah. So while he's taking care of the 4-year-old problems, yeah, my week, I'm technically on vacation this week, which is to say I am using the free time where I can, not answer questions in messages and stuff at work to actually get some things done, which is kind of sad, but I'll probably I'll probably get some extra flex days in a month. But, other than that, I don't know. I'm half finished with my Minecraft base. I sat down and started writing again. Hopefully it'll continue this time. And I eyeballed a few single sites, and no, I don't want. I'm not ready yet. So.
You're not ready.
Well, no, it's like when your heart gets crushed that bad, yeah, you got to take a break for a while.
Yeah, this is true.
So, not that people listening want to hear about our love lives. Oh my God, bro. We just lost half the audience right there.
No, I think they all started making popcorn. It's like John's love life. Oh, what's going on?
Oh, no.
No.
Well, we wouldn't be able to put it in Apple iTunes. It would be.
When you have a woman break into your house, you have the most interesting love life out of all of us. Right, JD?
Yeah.
I'm married, so,
to quote one of my favorite abridged series, they couldn't air it on TV because it would be so brutal.
How about you, JD? Are you able to tell us how your week was?
Oh, it was fine. Nothing special.
Nah?
Nothing special is good.
Well, that's good. So speaking of love lives.
No, we don't want to do that.
Yes. Well, I have to get this off my chest. So, as I admitted last week, I started going on a couple dating sites just to kind of see what's out there within my age range and geographical location, see what's going on, see what the kids are doing on these apps.
Dave, let me stop you right there. If you want to get this off your chest, they have creams for that.
So hold on, wait. Let me. So anyway, I'm on the Tinders, as the kids say, and I just the other night I'm like I wasn't even really doing anything. I get a notification that somebody liked me on Tinder, right? So I go and take a look, and she actually is around my age. She lives fairly close, and I'm like, oh, okay.
She's
really.
Not some guy named Chuck in a basement in South Florida or India.
Not that I know of. So wait, but hold on. Let me tell the story. So then I'm like, well, let me just see, she wasn't really my type, but like, okay, I'll swipe right and send her a message. And she replied, and we're talking a little bit back and forth, and it's one of those conversations where it takes her a long time to answer, and when she does answer, it's short answers all the time.
That's the bot processing.
No, it definitely wasn't a bot. Like I've gotten a couple of those already, and you can tell when it's a bot or a fake thing. And it was.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've literally given like respondents Turing tests, and some of them have failed, and I'm pretty sure those that failed were actually still real people.
So after this went on for a little while, I was finally like, hey, you don't really seem interested, because I didn't want to like waste either of our time, And she's like, what do you mean? And I explained and I gave her three, I said, I asked you this and you gave me a one-word answer. I asked you this and you gave me a one-word answer, where I'm like giving you information, trying to see if there's something worth exploring here, and you get that response that, it's one of those things my wife actually always hated, and I agree. I'm sorry you feel that way. I know it's typical things people say, but it's like, that's a non-apology.
It's a deflection onto the other person. It's your fault for having felt that way.
Right. It's your feelings are the problem, not what I'm doing. Right. And I was just like, again, I was just like, look, if you're not interested, whatever. And then she went off. She called me a bitch. She started saying, calling me names and stuff. I'm like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah, welcome to online dating for a geek. Yep.
And then finally, I was like, oh, and then she said the absolute worst possible thing you could say to me right now, which was, your wife died to get away from you.
Holy crap.
I don't know how you can go from 0 to complete evil in 3 seconds, but this person did.
Yeah, by being on Tinder, basically. Yeah.
So, at that point, I was like, I don't know what's going on. You seemed unhinged. Goodbye.
You seem unhinged.
Yeah, I said that's what I said. Goodbye. And she's like, you're the one with problems. So,
oh God.
Those who've used Tinder know that you can just unmatch, and as soon as you unmatch, they're blocked from you. But it was just like, what the heck? It was like one of the weirdest interactions I've ever had online with someone, and it was just
give it a few weeks, it will not be the weirdest. not until you are buried in a quarter bottle left of really cheap whiskey have you hit the bottom of the barrel yet in any of those sites.
I'm not talking about our conversations that we have online, John.
Two things I want to say. First, JD, you're a very lucky man to be married.
Thank you.
And second, for those people that still want Cavill as Superman, I'm sorry you feel that way.
What? What does that have to do with?
What were we just talking about? I'm sorry they feel that way.
Oh, I see. I see where you're going. That's going to be your go-to answer now, isn't it?
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Oh, I've unleashed a beast. Why?
No, well, yes, obviously by actually creating an account on Tinder. That's how you did that.
Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree with John there, JD, as well. You're when we get done here, you need to go hug your wife and say,
yes,
thank you for being married to me.
Oh, I do all the time.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes. Holding out of that thing, not letting that one go, because, I don't want this.
Yeah. Yeah, all you need is a week of Dave and I talking about our experiences that, you'll never leave your wife.
Yeah, so I'm not going on anything for a little while because,
Why? You haven't experienced the worst? Like, there's so many levels
like I
of
said,
worst out there.
I said I just wanted to see what was out there. Now that I've seen what's out there, take a break for a little while.
You think that's bad? Put on your profile that you like to go to comic book conventions.
Oh, I did.
Oh, well then, like I said, that's not the worst you're going to get. Apparently they hate people that like comic books out there. Like, people our age that like comic books are, like, effectively emasculated on dating sites.
Well, I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet. I will say this. There is someone that I do kind of have my eye on, but that's a whole nother story we'll get into another time. So, speaking of evil people online, I think it's time to do a little social media madness.
Well, we got the evil right.
So last week we had talked about there being a new Joker, and we talked a little bit while about who we think should play the new Joker. And for some reason, our good friend Random Randy Savage tweeted at us, as the Joker, ... maybe a hero. And it's a picture, it's a gif of Grant Gustin winking at the camera. I don't know if he's suggesting that Grant Gustin should play the Joker.
That's a weird one.
That is a really weird one.
There is canon for that. There's like one of the animated movies. I forget the name of it. It was like Crisis on Infinite Earths or something. It wasn't like the regular thing, but there was a crossover between the Justice League and another Earth where Lex Luthor was was the leading member of the Justice League, and over there it wasn't the Joker, it was Jester, and he was a member of the Justice League. So, anything's possible with the multiverse.
True, but I don't think we're ready for a mainstream Joker that's a hero in the movies.
Oh no. We're not. Apparently, we're not even ready for the regular Joker. A good depiction of him yet.
So, speaking of Henry Cavill, John, thank you for that. Too early of a segue. We did.
It wasn't a segue. I was just insulting people that
We did mention that he is still under contract to play Superman, and will be playing him in a couple upcoming movies. There's no talk about a Man of Steel 2, but him doing cameos as Superman, especially in the next Shazam or Black Adam movie. But we did have some people reply to that. I love this one. What Willis was talking about. For those who grew up in the 70s, you should get that.
Oh, what you talking about, Willis? Is what you talking about, Willis?
He's at Wayward Willis on the Twitters, and he had said, I think he has the perfect comic book Superman look. I just don't think he's ever had a good writer to make it work for him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if there were a Man of Steel 2, if Zack Snyder isn't involved, maybe.
We also had our good friend Randy say, he's a fine Superman. He needs a better storyline direction. I would love to see a Brad Bird Superman story.
I agree with that.
He needs a storyline. Remember, Zack Snyder doesn't write stories. He writes a series of scenes and then strings them together with like spit and baling wire.
Yes, and violence.
A lot of violence.
Yeah.
A lot of violence.
And body counts of innocent civilians.
And Rob Foster's back. He said, I like Cavill as he has grown into the role. He seemed like a kid in Man of Steel. Now, if they would just retrofit the old suit on him, the new Star Trekky Superman is just weak. Oh, this new Star Trekky Superman is... I just don't understand the scales on the suit.
No.
That never made sense to me, but it doesn't look comfortable.
Well, he's Superman, so it's not like he needs to be comfortable. That probably doesn't even feel it, but the suit was too dark. I mean, he's Superman, not the Dark Knight. He doesn't have to blend in with evening. It's just, I don't know. They need to. I'm sorry. I'm just so down on that. It's just you saw like on Slack just Warner is pissing me off, and I can't see them doing anything good by continuing any of the current movies universe stuff. It's just they need to junk it. They need to scrap and rebuild.
Yeah, but that's the weird thing, and we really haven't talked about this, is that it seems like they're scrapping part of it, but keeping part of it.
Right, which, how the hell does that even work? I mean, they gotta just have, like, 2 more movies and then introduce Dr. Manhattan and do Doomsday Clock, and, that's the reason why there are 4 Jokers running around.
I hope they don't do that. Well, I mean, they said at one point they were just going to concentrate on making good solo movies, but I don't know, it still doesn't make sense. Like, if you're keeping part of the universe you built, then you still want to try to have some connection, right? Am I wrong in assuming?
They got a weird thing going on with these movies right now where I don't even think they know what's going on. I really don't.
They don't. They obviously don't.
So one of the other things that we talked about last week, of course, was the big news with Hartley Sawyer being fired from The Flash. And kind of a couple interesting responses on this one.
Yeah, that would hurt.
None Ya Business came back with, they did him a favor. So I'm not really sure what he's getting at, because I like The Flash. And Emerald Centurion, who's a first-time replier on these threads. He's at Revan Methos. Revan, R-E-V-A-N, Methos on the Twitters. I think it's stupid and a PR move by a company that obviously isn't interested in telling stories and is falling apart. Yeah. I don't see how they're falling apart.
They're not falling apart. They're like, depending on how COVID affects them, most of the properties are doing really well. Last I figured.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, other than, I don't think, what was it? One of them, like, no one is barely watching. It's either Legends or Batwoman. Like, apparently has the worst ratings. But, like, a lot of people still watch Flash, and, of course, Arrow, but Arrow's now off, and Supergirl, so. Did you just drive by in a motorcycle, John?
No.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I was just shocked. Like, we hadn't anyone, agree with the move yet, so it's just an interesting thing to follow. I don't know. I still kind of think it's going to be one of the things he's going to disappear for a year or two and then pop up somewhere else. And, just like in Hollywood always, it'll all be forgiven. So,
you say that, but this is not like some of the other issues.
Hey, there were a lot of people pissed off at Gunn, and now he works for both Marvel and DC. So,
yeah,
right.
James Gunn has he's got a lot of accrued interest before that. Like, I don't know how much, the level, how high up you are is how much you can screw up. Like, if you're just a guy who does, extra work on shows, you can't mess up at all. If you're a dude who just, is a bit player, you have very little room to screw up. And, I don't know.
Well, there's also the seriousness, right? Like, so, this Hartley was way, the tweets were way, more recent and much worse than we talked about this. Like,
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how you can forgive one and then not forgive the other. But
because of there's a difference between the two.
I don't think there's not a difference when it comes to forgiveness. If he's truly sorry for what he did, there's still forgiveness.
Yeah, but one was trying to tell jokes and chose poorly, and the other one was those tweets from Hartley sounded. I mean, they were just in context, in stream of consciousness. That's actually like his personality. I mean, as much as I hate to admit it, it feels more like that was him.
You're making assumptions about a person you don't know.
Well, yeah.
By some stupid things he said on social media. Like, I can't, you know.
There's stupid things, and then there's cruelty.
I will bet you $1,000 right now in 2 to 3 years he'll pop back up somewhere.
Here's what I'm gonna say. One made his studio $1 billion. The other one didn't.
True.
Yeah, but it just takes him getting cast in the right role and whatever.
But again, look at what
happened with Mel Gibson, and then he won an Oscar. Like,
but he's Mel Gibson.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. That's all I'm saying.
Roseanne Barr hasn't come back yet. She's been persona non grata for years now.
It's been about a year, maybe 2. You know.
True.
Jury's out.
Yeah, the jury's still out on that one. So the other thing we had talked about the Justice League a while ago. We talked about the Justice League Snyder Cut coming to HBO Max.
Or is it?
Well, I want to ask you about that, and I forgot to include that article this week, so maybe we'll get to that. I didn't read the article. However, I want to say I brought this up because he hasn't been mentioned on a couple episodes. Timothy Jones replied and said, if the Snyder Cut does it justice, then yes.
It doesn't even work for my sour grapes bit. I got nothing.
Yeah, we're thinking of you, Tim. So had to make sure you were included. And then finally, we did talk about the Arrowverse won't be returning till 2021, due to obviously coronavirus. And, given the other things that have happened, besides partly there's also what's-her-face quit, right?
Yeah. That one.
Rob Foster posed this idea. They should work the delay into a show plot as a time blip that they have to investigate. Now, obviously,
that's been done before.
You can argue that that's the plot of 52.
That's the plot of a couple of old movies. I forget, there was another one where like the entire world fell asleep for a few minutes.
That was a comic storyline in DC called 52.
Oh, okay.
All the heroes lose a year of their lives, and they have to investigate a murder.
No,
not really. That
wasn't quite.
Well, there was a murder.
There was a murder, but it wasn't like they just skipped a year. Like they started. 52 was the story of like what happened in the missing year when when Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman went away for a year. So yeah, it was a murder story, but like it was okay. Nitpicking.
Yes, you are. But it could be or like the blip in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Could you use it to explain all the weirdness?
Good.
I mean, it's weird because they just did a massive crossover with the Crisis on Infinite Earths, collapsing all their universes into one. So yeah, I don't know if you need another thing now to explain it, but I don't know. If you were a writer on the shows, would you use it?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like, it depends on what I can do with it. Like, if it's just to get out of jail free card, then I'd probably try something else. Like, I think you want to use something you could spur into some other storytelling method.
Yeah. Yeah. Have it drive like a major plot point or something. If they can come up with a good idea for it, right?
Yeah.
That was the problem with One More Day is, the devil did it, and then they don't touch it ever again. That just makes, for a bad story and it leaves a big stain in the room.
Yeah, that's true. Rob, was that your plan? Did you want the devil to do it?
Or a devil-like substitute?
Yes. Remember, they argue he's not the devil.
Just collects people's souls.
He just collects people's souls, He does everything the devil does, but he's not actually the devil. Alright, well, on that note, boys and girls, if you want to know how you can be part of social media madness, here's a few words from our good friend D-Square.
Enjoying the show? Want to be part of social media madness? Make sure you are following superheroespeak.com, where you can find all of the show's social media links at the top of the page. While you're there, you can check out old episodes of the podcast as well as some other great content. Check the site often because we are posting some great comic reviews, as well as comic book and movie news content every day. Make sure and follow us on Twitter @SuperheroSpeak. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. You can follow them @stars_geek. The Geek World All-Star Podcast Network include great programs such as the Pop Prison Power Podcast, Cult 45, So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Search for #GWAllStars. You will not be disappointed. Now it's back to Dave and the boys on Superhero Speak.
Thank you, Don. We appreciate you and all that you do for us. And don't forget to check out his podcast, the D-Squared Podcast, and some of his reviews on our website. On that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right, John. Before we get into the minimal news that we have this week,
it's been kind of quiet, and you know, after last week, it's been kind of quiet, like it should be during a pandemic. But
you shared what was it? There was an article about
HBO Max is playing bait and switch with its DC superhero movies.
So what's the story there?
Well, it's just that so HBO Max is supposed to, launch with, one of the pulls was that most of the DC stuff being owned by Warner would be available on it. Apparently not the case. They're missing most of the movies, especially stuff like, Man of Steel isn't on there. And some of the other movies that they do have on there are going away, July 1st. And I'm actually amazed because DC Universe is missing a lot of stuff that I have on Blu-ray. And then, HBO Max was supposed to, include DC Universe stuff, and they've got even less.
So here's my question. Is it tied up in rights issues with other distribution companies?
Yes is the answer.
Probably, yeah.
Does Netflix have a deal to show these movies at a certain time? Does Cinemax and Showtime have it? I mean, I don't understand how that stops HBO from having them, because HBO Max from having, because my understanding they're owned by Warner Brothers, who supposedly owns all of this.
Yeah, but I mean, if it depends on when contracts are set to expire. You buy rights to things for X amount of years.
Right.
And there's talk that this HBO Max thing was thrown together rather harshly and quick without much of a plan, and this seems to kind of back it up.
Yeah. I mean, when they announced, and we've talked about this before, when they announced HBO Max and that it would include stuff that I like Rooster Teeth and DC Universe and a whole bunch of other stuff, I figured, okay, I can get rid of, like I did with Disney Plus. I got rid of my Hulu account, and it's included now with Disney Plus. I was looking forward to start consolidating all these streaming fees that I've got. And when I started hearing what the lineup was for HBO Max, it sounds like, they're missing half of the DC Universe stuff. They don't have many of their own freaking movies on there. And worst off, this really pisses me off. The worst insult, the spit in the eye, is that Elmer Fudd is using a scythe.
Okay, actually, I'm glad.
And they're going to take away Sam's pistols.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another article I forgot to include, because someone else was talking about this on another podcast that I listened to, and I was like, it's interesting.
It's not interesting. It's a freaking insult.
Okay, so apparently, the animators at Warner Brothers, who currently do the new Looney Tunes cartoons, made a decision not to include guns. Right? So Yosemite Sam and Elmer Fudd are no longer allowed to use guns. you know. And from my understanding, this was a decision that was kind of like made in a pitch meeting when they were talking about ideas for new episodes. And
how much cocaine were they doing at the time?
And there's
Hollywood, frequent.
There's been now hold on. Here, I want to get to my question. There's been a huge backlash from people like John on the internet.
And I'm for gun control.
Which, like, the argument is obviously, like, we all watched these cartoons growing up, and we knew that you can't point a gun at a duck and just blow his bill into the back of his head, like, you know, and he'll just have burn marks on him. Like, yes, we know that it's a gun kills. But here's my question, in all seriousness. If they had just made this decision and did it, would anyone have noticed? But since Warner Brothers came out and made an announcement about it, and made a big deal about them not showing guns, is that what caused people to, like, then have a reaction?
I think people would have noticed. Elmer Fudd is a hunter, not an Amish farmer hitting the back 40.
Think about, like one of the most famous episodes is the opera one, right?
Yep.
Killed a rabbit. He doesn't use a gun in that at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they're singing opera. There have been ones where Elmer Fudd's been like a waiter, you know, and Bugs Goes to Restaurant. Like, not every episode with Elmer Fudd is he a hunter with a gun.
Oh, absolutely. But the thing is, like, you know,
Spirit Magic Helmet.
Yeah. But they're like, you know, that's part of his personality. It's not. You can't just replace it with a scythe. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
So if you make Tom and Jerry, if we got Boomerang for the kid, and they have Tom and Jerry on there. So if you make Tom and Jerry shows and you have the Mammy, and you decide to leave out the Mammy character, is that a betrayal to the core of the concept? Because it's not what it was in 1940.
It was a tertiary character.
I'd say so is the gun to Elmer Fudd. Because, like I said, his two most famous appearances, the Barber of Seville and What's Opera Doc, doesn't have. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's doing other things than just sticking the gun in a hole.
Well, yeah, like, but the thing is, the whole thing is his whole character is he's a hunter.
But are they going back and changing the original ones from the 30s and 40s?
No.
Then what's the big deal? They're just doing something different with it. Like, cultures and times change, and there's things that exist in those cartoons, like insanely racist things that we don't do them anymore because we want to move on. I mean, like, especially when you got kids killing each other, you know, with guns, maybe it's not the best idea to have it, you know, I'm not saying you should go back and change what was, because that's lying about history.
You're getting dangerously close to video games cause violence.
No, you're not. You're just choosing to not do something because you think it's irresponsible. Like, they're not going to have Slowpoke Rodriguez on the shows either.
Right.
Like, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, times change, people change, cultural mores change. Like, I don't think you're betraying Elmer. I don't think you're betraying the core of Elmer Fudd. Elmer Fudd's an inept hunter. He can hunt with a scythe. He can hunt with whatever and still not catch Bugs Bunny. But I mean, like, I don't think, like I said, as long as they don't, if they're not going back and re-editing the shows, they're not pulling a Steven Spielberg and E.T., where you're going to pretend these guns weren't there to begin with, and they put a bigger, magnifying glass on it. I don't see the problem.
But it's cartoon humor. Like, the gun may be a secondary character, but it's a secondary character that makes sense. Like, the humor's got to have some kind of structure to it in order. Right.
So we can't have humor without Elmer Fudd misappropriating a gun.
So here's the thing, right? Now there's the other side of the argument too, because they've said, like, he used a scythe. Apparently there was an episode, a sequence in one of the episodes where he stabs Bugs Bunny and then Bugs Bunny drops an anvil on his head. So the gun's not okay, but that's okay. And then they still have, like, dynamite and stuff and explosions. So
cartoon violence is a weird thing, and I'll give you that. And I mean, like, should the line be drawn somewhere? I guess. Like, they didn't butcher. I mean, like Elmer Fudd didn't butcher him with a knife.
I guess my point there is, it makes the argument feel a little insincere, where it's like, we're not going to have guns, but we'll blow people up all the time.
If if we start having a problem with schools blowing kids up, with people bringing dynamite to schools like on a repeat basis, then I'll maybe put it with you. But I think it's a disingenuous argument, especially when, let's be frank, you guys aren't going to watch it. It's going to be for kids.
Okay, Frank. Well,
thank you.
I might check it out if you know.
But it's not. But I'm so saying, like, it's who's the audience. Like, you make these things with the intended audience in mind, not the people who are going to look at it for the sake of nostalgia.
True.
Like, and as a parent, I'm okay with it. My wife and I were talking about this at dinner tonight. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and say they need to go back and edit all the old shows, nor am I not gonna show my kid the shows from the history. I'm just saying, like, if that's what they think is socially responsible, I'm okay with it. Like, it's like Disney not showing Song of the South or Dumbo with the Jim Crows. Like, I mean, like, the society has changed in a way, and it's not a bad thing to acknowledge that it might have changed.
No, and I agree. And you're actually making a very valid argument in the sense of people like John, who's so PO'd, they can go show their kids the old ones.
We show Andy old cartoons all the time. He loves old cartoons.
You know, I mean, my granddaughters watch, old cartoons all the time, Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes, you know, because
what I like about Looney Tunes is they sit there and they'll put a little disclaimer before the shows and say, hey, this was created in time and it reflected the feelings of an era. They don't reflect what we value today. And I think that's the way to go about it. It's like reading Mark Twain. If you pick up Tom Sawyer, there's going to be some language that a lot of people are uncomfortable with.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you have to write like it today.
Right. No, exactly.
John? I feel like I'm talking to Dave. And Dave's like agreeing with me. So, I mean.
Yeah, I don't.
He's going to go get his cartoon gun.
It feels like there is a difference between the two situations. Like, this is cartoon humor, right? You're making an argument that Congress was using to try and take violence out of video games, like, or ban violent video games.
The difference is no one's forcing anyone to do it. This is the people who own the IP saying this is how we choose to portray our characters. And that's a creator's right. There's not a government organization coming down and saying you have to do this. These are the people who are creating, saying this is how we choose to represent that. Mm-hmm. So isn't the other way saying the creator, hey creator, you do what I say. I want this. And as a creator myself, I'm like, I don't think so.
I think it also goes along with the argument, and you said this on the show before too. If you don't like it, go make your own cartoon with gun violence.
I'll stick with anime that has like at least 40-word titles. So.
Correct, and I'm not letting my 4-year-old watch that. You know?
Well, no. Some of the no. There's
how else is he going to learn about tentacles?
Learn about what?
Tentacles.
There's no.
You will not. No. We're going to keep it as far away from that as possible.
I know half of John's collection has tentacles in it.
That is not true. There may be 1 or 2, but it's not hentai. So I can't help it if Sword Art Online decided to throw tentacles in a few episodes. At least it's not hentai.
But as a consumer, you can choose not to watch it.
Yeah. Like fine.
You can say, HBO, I don't like your reboot of the Looney Tunes. It sucks. I'm not going to watch it. And then they react as a corporate entity. And that's, again, this is at the end of the day, like, nobody told Warner Brothers they had to do this. Like, this was their call.
Right.
Same as any other kind of change they've made that's been based on, hey, we're not the same. Hey, we don't make anti-Japanese cartoons anymore. Where people have, big slanty eyes and buck teeth. Like, you don't do that. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's like, I remember even in the 90s when I was growing up, you'd watch some of those old Looney Tunes, and even at 10, I'm like, man, some of this stuff is kind of wrong. Like,
also remember that those movies were made during World War II.
Absolutely. They're a piece of history, and you can't ignore it, but you also don't have to propagate it for just the sake of, well, this is how it's always been.
Right. Exactly. Yep. What was oh my God, who was the very famous white guy that played in Oriental in an old movie?
Andy
Rooney.
Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney. Breakfast at Tiffany.
I mean, that's
the most offensive portrayal, the most offensive, like, portrayal of another race. Like,
right, you wouldn't get that nowadays. So there you go.
Oh God, no.
As well, you shouldn't. Like, John Wayne shouldn't have been playing Genghis Khan either. But I mean, like, that one's like super offensive looking back on it. I've never actually seen Breakfast at Tiffany's, but I knew about that scene because it's a plot point in the Bruce Lee biopic Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I didn't know that, but I mean, that's how I learned about it.
Genghis Khan is so bad that they should do an MST3K episode on it because just like either one or Breakfast at Tiffany, because the amount of comedy that you could lay on top of that because of how offensive the portrayals are is just astounding.
I think here's the interesting too is HBO Max is they're not going to put they're holding back.
Yeah, they took down the wind. Yeah,
and
they're going to put it back up, but they're going to put and disclaimer and that's that I get because it's
hold on.
Like Birth of America and Gone with the Wind. They're like,
the interesting point is, and I don't know, I hate that I don't know her name, the actress.
Eddie McDaniel.
Right. She was the first African-American woman to win an Oscar for that movie.
She also wasn't allowed to sit with because that was back in the day when they had the Oscars at a restaurant. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but David O. Selznick had to bribe everyone just to let her in the building to accept the award.
Yeah,
and she wasn't allowed to sit with them with the production people.
That's an important moment in Black history. So to say, oh, we can't show it, it's like no, like.
But at the same time, there's some stuff. The issues with Gone with the Wind is that they're the hero. Like the South is the hero, and it's like. Speaking of Warner Brothers cartoons, you ever see that some of those old Tweety and Sylvester ones that take place in Civil War, and Tweety's on the South and Sylvester's on the North?
Yep, yeah.
That always again, child of the 80s, 90s, that always sat weird with me. But like, there's different cultural attitudes today, and like, I think that if you watch Gone with the Wind, God, is it boring. Two, yeah, I mean, it's of its era. And I get why right now HBO would like to kind of maybe hold off, but I mean, like, the same thing, you can't deny it, but I also don't think they should put Birth of a Nation up, because that is a movie that,
that's just pure propaganda. That's not like, there's no artistic value to it. It is literal propaganda.
That's the problem is that there is artistic value. D.W. Griffith was a phenomenal filmmaker, like, especially in the era. That was an incredibly well-made movie. The problem is, it's like you said, it's like Leni Riefenstahl a generation later. It is propaganda. It's well-done propaganda. Birth of the Nation is why we had such high Ku Klux Klan driving, with membership drives in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that movie inspired a generation of hate. Like, film has a powerful, powerful message on people. And like, so I get right now, I think HBO's being a little half-assed with it, but I mean, like, I kind of get where they're coming from. Kinda.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's a weird time, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, we've like, the whole world, and this is going on over the whole world, that they're taking down, even Christopher Columbus statues are coming down all over the world. And it's interesting to see an entire society re-examine its conscience all at the same time.
It's a good thing though. Like, I like that people are questioning what's been told about them. Like, I can't tell you how many days I see people saying like, oh, the Civil War was about states' rights. It wasn't about slavery. So yes, it's about the states' rights to keep people as property. That news what it's for. But I mean, like, I do appreciate that we are asking tough questions and taking a look at ourselves and saying, man, maybe we should be better. And our pop culture is a big part of that. But I don't think we should burn books or like pretend movies never happened. Like, film study courses should study Birth of a Nation to see its power. They should study Triumph of the Will to see, how the Nazis portrayed their own image, so you understand the power of cinema and the power of media.
Okay, but can we just agree that we should bury all evidence that Jared Leto ever played Joker?
Yeah, probably.
Release the David Ayers cut. Why was the David Ayers cut?
That's coming next,
Give
man.
me the David Ayers cut.
Bro, that's cheaper than the Snyder cut. That actually exists. They can just put that on.
Oh,
they can go, sure.
Did you see that the president of Warner Brothers made a statement on it?
Did not, actually.
No.
Oh, yes.
No.
He said them doing the Snyder cut was not like a preamble to them now doing other cuts that fans are asking for. Basically saying they're not going to release the Ayers cut of Suicide Squad.
One, because nobody liked Suicide Squad. Two, there's not a movement for it. I don't know. That's weird. The fact
there actually is been a movement on Twitter. There's a hashtag release the Ayers cut. But my argument is this. What's going to happen is after they release the Snyder cut, they get a bump in subscriptions. Once the subscriptions start dropping back off because people only got it for the Snyder cut, then they'll release the Ayers cut on HBO.
It's possible. I only got HBO for Game of Thrones.
See?
Like, I'm that guy.
Yeah, I know. You are that guy.
I am that guy.
Okay, so we have some sad news to talk about this week. Denny O'Neil, one of the absolute greatest prolific writers in comic books, passed away this week at the age of 81. I'm just trying to think, is anyone not familiar with his work?
If you're listening to this show, I guarantee you know who Denny O'Neil is.
He gave us, just to name a few, he gave us Birth of the Demon, Bloodstorm, Sword of Azrael, a lot of some of the first, is it the first 5 issues of, what's that book? The Dark Knight? Not the Dark Knight. Legends of the Dark Knight. Yeah, so just so much Batman work.
Even before that, his first run on Batman in the 70s, he wrote Laughing Fish.
Yes.
Like, I think we just talked about this a week ago.
We talked about it last week, yes.
Last week, yeah. We talked about how that kind of was re-legitimizing Batman. Like, he, as a writer, he wrote the Green Lantern,
re-legitimized Joker.
No, Joker, yes, and Batman at the same time. He's the one, Night of the Reaper, actually, is when Batman starts to get a little edgier again. Like, and that's him as a writer. Like, as an editor, he took it to another level. He shepherded Batman through his most important era in the late 80s and early 90s into the 2000s. Like, there's a legend. And as a writer, he wrote he was the guy who did the Hard Traveling Heroes, Green Lantern, and Green Arrow.
Yep. Yeah.
And one of his most significant contributions to pop culture, he named Optimus Prime.
Yes.
Damn.
Yep. He named Optimus Prime. He worked for Charlton Comics, for quite a few years in the 60s. I don't know if, you weren't with us then. We had a big Charlton Comics episode not that long ago.
I'm sorry I missed that. That's actually kind of cool. Speaking of Charlton Comics, he wrote The Question. He did the Question reboot.
He did the Question.
With Dennis Cowan.
Yep.
And the Question's like a very underutilized, under-recognized character.
Absolutely. One of the most underutilized characters in comics. Like, and again, his interpretation with Dennis Cowan really rebuilt the character. He was the one who added the kung fu elements and the Eastern philosophy to it. And Denny was awesome. The world's the worst place without him.
Yeah, I met him briefly at a convention years ago, and I didn't have any books with me. I was a volunteer. I didn't have any books with me that he wrote, and this was a show in New York, and my books were back home in Philly, so I never got him to sign anything. But nice guy, very nice guy, and very humble. Just amazing. I'm saddened. Not only because of the loss of a great writer, but I always wanted to, and tell you the truth, I never told you this, guys. I have tried a couple times to get him on the show, but he was getting very leery about doing interviews and stuff as he was getting older.
Was he kind of slipping a little bit? Like, I remember I haven't seen him do.
I don't know. All I know is that I talked to his his publicist, and they were like, "Oh, he only does certain select interviews anymore." So.
How old was he?
81 when he passed.
Yeah. Good luck.
So yeah. So Godspeed, Mr. O'Neil. You will be missed. I don't know who will fill your shoes. I think the world's a little darker. So
it's been a rough year.
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse, guys.
Not true. Supreme Court did something right for once. So
they
did have a good day today.
Yes. which shocked a lot of people. So 1984, Wonder Woman 1984 has been moved yet again.
Now coming out in 2084.
No, October 2nd is now the new release date for Wonder Woman 1984. It was going to be in June this month.
Can I make a prediction that it's not going to come out then? It's going to get pushed off again?
I think you're probably right.
I hope. I hope by October they can come
out. Not with the way the states are treating this, we have this 5 points, we need to reopen. We can skip these 3.
Well, I taking that away, are theaters going to be ready to reopen at full capacity again?
Yeah, that's true.
Like I think I don't know if that's financially feasible for them to release a tentpole film when you're not going to be able to sell out and get the money.
I was going to say that is that part of the stipulations for theaters to open, it's like a third of the capacity.
Yes, so you're cutting a third of your grosses right away.
Well, movie tavern to work because the seats are so big, you've got 6 feet between people already.
In some of them,
but
yes.
Yeah, like Regal, some of the older Regal and AMC theaters. Oh my God, you're packed in like sardines. So
yeah, I mean, and that's what they want. That's how they first weekends are critical for these type of movies, which is why they keep kicking them back and kicking them back. Well, they need to make a lot of money on these things.
Like that theater where John, you and I got to see Wonder Woman. The first Wonder Woman.
That was the worst one I've been in a very, very long time.
Like that was an old theater and you were on top of each other in it. Yeah.
Like that was a theater made in the 70s where there was there was only one armrest between you and the guy next to you and the seats were already like airline thin.
Yes.
That is not good in a COVID world.
And when you're a big guy like me, you don't like those little seats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. But that's I don't see this coming up. Like, they're doing what they got to do. They're being smart. But with the way things are, I think it's silly for everyone to kind of pretend like, hey, everything's going to be fine in a couple months. We'll be right back to normal.
What do you think? They might be forced to start, recognizing the new reality and have a new way. They made pretty good money on the movies they've released on demand. Granted, you're skipping 3 steps in their revenue stream, but
a lot of the theaters are really upset. We talked about it on the show a few weeks back.
Well, AMC's going down, I heard, right?
Yeah. I think it was AMC and Regal both said they aren't going to carry anything from Universal because of Trolls, because they really released it to direct-to-video and it made a lot of money. So they're like, fine, we're never going to show one of your movies again. But
that's BS.
It is.
I do think, though, if the movie was able to come out in the theater, it probably would have made it 3 times as much as it did on home video.
For sure. We're not living in a world yet where a big tentpole movie can just not be released at the big screen.
But this is accelerating the move to that.
You ain't wrong.
Yes, but for them to make the kind of money they were making before this, they would have to charge you $30-$40 to rent it to watch online.
And they're charging $20 for these things.
Right, but I'm saying I think for them to honestly make because $20 and you're a family of 5.
Yeah, but nobody's going to pay $40 for watching a movie at home. Where suddenly the kids get rambunctious, or they have to go to bed. And
that's why I'm saying we're not there yet, because either movie companies go back to making smaller movies and not these uber expensive blockbuster movies, or they have to charge, you bought 5 tickets, Well,
no, they have to change. They have to change how they do on demand. They're charging $20 for a rental that could go away after 3 days. So in some cases 2 days. If you could rent it for 5 days, then you're guaranteed that you'll have time to see it because sometimes things come up, right? But nobody's going to pay $20. Okay. I can even if you have kids, maybe you can reasonably be as certain that you'll be able to see the whole movie in 3 days if nothing happens. But for $40, I don't want to chance that. If I have kids.
40's a lot of money.
I'm saying it is, but it's also, if going, average weekends going to the movies, and it would be like me, my brother, my wife, and my 2 kids, and me, that's 5 people. That's $50.
Yeah, but it's
tickets.
also, you're also taking credit like the theaters. Like if you cut the middleman out and go right to the consumer, you don't need to charge quite as much, which is the problem.
This is true.
Yeah.
But you also have to take into account, maybe to a lesser extent, but it's still an issue, that the jobless rate from January to now is like there's an extra 30 million people out there without jobs. And any jobs that they get back over the next couple of months, maybe to years, are all going to be lower paying jobs. So, nobody's going to have the money to go out or to pay $20 for a movie, even streaming, or let alone to go and get a popcorn and a soda for $20 and on top of the ticket price.
For some reason,
loan application to go to movies.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're I don't know. I love going to the movies, and your strong arguments against movie theaters, John, just makes me want to punch you in the face for some reason.
But this is what's going on right now. This is the problem, is that more people, and I love going to the movies too. Right now, even if theaters open to third capacity, I don't want to go.
Mm-hmm. Neither do I.
I think it's irresponsible of me as a parent to put myself in these kind of situations.
You're not going to take your kids.
No, God, no. But even myself and coming home, I don't want to sit in a movie theater with, and I wear my mask everywhere I go publicly, but I don't want to sit there in a movie theater with it on for a couple hours. Theaters are a little inconvenient right now. And that's the problem, though, is John, because these theaters, they're trying to fight for their, viability.
Yeah.
But as a consumer right now, and I love going to the movies, but it might not be, I might not go to a movie theater until 2021.
Until there's a vaccine.
I don't want to do this.
Okay. I don't want to get into all that. But yeah.
Well, I mean, but still, right. Until there's a viable way to make sure that everybody is safe, let's just say.
I don't even know about that, because I don't know if even to the point where, let's say, in our state here in Illinois, we reported our lowest virus totals in months, 400 some odd cases today. That's the lowest, that's significantly lower than we normally have. Chicago, big, a lot of people.
Mm.
So in a few more months, you could get them to reasonable numbers. But in other places, everything's going up. So, it's just, things are in such a chaotic place right now. And I don't know when that's gonna come to an end. So long story short, I think Warner's doing the right thing by pushing it back.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that.
Yeah, I don't, let's get off of this. Though I was gonna say the other two things that were not included.
Yeah, we're not supposed to Enshin May the Ovid K, so.
I just don't want to. It's just. I told you I don't want to. Cool. I don't want to dwelling A on it.
Eldway would be
Eldway on it. Yeah. Yes. I don't think I mentioned this last week. Rhode Island Comic Con, which isn't till November, got canceled for this year.
Isn't Dragon Con still going to go ahead as planned though?
Well, there's no word yet on Dragon Con, New York, Keystone, or there's a couple others. There's a couple other fairly big ones. And the other one that was already canceled, and this is only a bi-yearly convention. It only happens every other year. Is the Star Wars Celebration has been canceled for this year, and there won't be another one until 2022. So.
Well, that's because of the last movie, but.
Some dudes always gotta make cheap shots when they take the opportunity.
But it was just so cheap. I might as well spend the capital on it, right?
Yes. And apparently, though, Rhode Island has said what they're going to do is actually have 2 shows next year. One for summer, and then one for their normal one in November. So.
That's interesting.
Yeah. To make it up for the fans. Because Wizard World Philly got moved to. That was the other weird one. That's going to be in January or February.
Yeah, but Wizard World Philly fits in the back of somebody's station wagon now, so.
Well, it's
easy to
also,
move.
they also moved location from the convention
to Oaks,
center
right?
to Oaks. And it's just like, I'm just like, really? Like, just give up.
Talk about a dying business model, Wizard.
Oh my God. That's a whole other story. I could spend 2 hours on it. Yeah, that's a show. Right that there. Is a show. Boys and girls, if you've got, if you've booked hotel rooms or, you've got tickets to these shows, keep an eye out because, things are still bumpy. All right. On the last note, this is a genre movie we probably don't normally talk about, but I think it still fits in our wheelhouse. And of course, we grew up watching the first two. We got our first trailer for Bill and Ted Face the Music. Did you guys watch it yet?
Yeah. Yep. Of course I did.
So I'll let you guys go first. JD, what did you think?
I dug it. I thought it was fine. Like, I don't know what I was expecting. Like, I enjoy Bill and Ted, but it's not Back to the Future. So, I think it looks alright. Like, I have zero expectations for this movie. So, it's fine. Okay. Am I alone on this?
What about you, John?
They look so old.
They are so old.
I know. And they're writing that into the storyline, which is cool. So, I don't know. I'm gonna go see it. Like, that's it. Like, whether or not the reviews are bad, I'm gonna go see it just because I've got a nostalgia factor going. And because I want to see if, like, at any point, Keanu Reeves makes a John Wick face. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You're missing, like, Rufus.
Well,
of course, because, what's his name? Damn it.
George Carlin.
Yeah, George Carlin passed away, unfortunately, because this would have been a prime time for him. But, I just, I don't know. I mean, they brought back Death. It may be pretty cool.
So the shtick, obviously, for the first two movies is that they're dumb teenagers and, who luck into writing the song that unites the world and blah, blah, blah. Well, at least that's a lot of the plot of the second one, if I think. Remember correctly?
That's in the first one.
Yeah.
Is in the first one too? Okay.
They were the chosen ones.
They have to pass history.
Right. They have to pass. That's right. That's why they go back in time to get all those people from history to help them pass their test.
Really is a great movie.
But my question is, and this is a serious question, and I don't think it does two middle-aged men trying to do the dumb teenage shtick work?
For me, I think this is the way I read into that trailer, is that this is a movie about not living up to your expectations. And they kind of are dumbasses, and I think that's going to play into it, is that they never really grew up when they were supposed to. So I think that's going to play into the idea of the movie. But I don't have any guarantees on that. So as long as it's part of the story, I think I'm okay with it.
I agree. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, if they acted just like regular guys, they wouldn't be Bill and Ted.
This is true. Though I mean, what you guys were just saying, you're not going to go see it day one, but.
Oh no, I can wait. I very much wait for Amazon Prime to tell me when I can watch it.
Yeah.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, because that was my next question. Is there any way that this comes out August 21st?
No.
I bet it could, because this is not a movie designed to make money. Like, I bet this was very low budget and just something they did for fun. And most of the budget's probably going in Keanu's pocket.
but this is true. Like, so they don't spend half the movie on him.
Right. They don't have to kill at the box office. They could probably make a profit. As long as movies make a profit, you're okay. You know, will it slaughter? But it probably wasn't going to anyway.
Oh,
but you're still looking at the problem. You're still looking at the problem that, like, every state is going to be in a different pardon the pun, state at that point. So, you know, there's no telling, like, there's no way they're going to be able to do a national release. Some states won't be able to open movie theaters while others may be trying it at that point.
The budget was $25 million.
That's low.
Oh, they could make that up on demand.
Yeah. That's what, so that could, see, I'm saying That's a reasonable. This is the kind of movie they used to make in the 80s, like a low budget movie that has some quirk to it that people are going to be drawn to. Like they're not like as the 90s, and that did not have charm. But like this, I can't see a way this loses money, even with everything the way it is right now. 25 million, not a problem.
Yeah, they could, okay. Just don't put it on HBO Max.
No.
Do you have a?
What do you think, Dave?
Oh yeah, no, I think you're right. I think one of the I also kind of think that this movie will get released worldwide. Might not open up everywhere, but it'll probably make its money back in China. So, because that's where a lot of movies make their money now.
Will Bill and Ted make money in China? I'm not sure about that one.
I don't know.
Are they going to do the same thing as like the Meg and Godzilla, where they just stick a couple of South Asian people in there and I mean that's literally what some of these some of these collaborations are now.
But I mean, like Star Wars didn't make much money in China, like there's some things that don't translate. Mm-hmm. Like Japanese horror has been hugely influential on American studio horror, but like people like watching the original movies can be really hard. Like just because the storytelling methods are different and like culturally what works is different. So I don't know if Bill and Ted would work in China, to be quite honest with you.
Two stupid guys time traveling. I don't know. I guess you have to find out how much Hot Tub Time Machine made over in China.
Well, if they made it into an anime and that was the title, everybody would watch it over in Japan at least.
Japan's different than China.
Yes.
True.
Like I don't know. Like and plus it's part 3.
I don't think.
Series. I don't know.
I honestly don't think that's going to matter. I don't think it's going to be a movie where I didn't see the first 2 parts, so I'm lost. I really don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, but at the same time, like the movie is predicated on you knowing who they are.
True.
There is context.
So I don't know because like I know for a fact Bill and Ted 1 did not play in China. So I don't know. I'm very curious about this. I'd like to revisit this subject when we can actually look at box office returns.
Well, and that's another thing I'm kind of curious too, right? Like there are people who have jobs where they try to predict box office returns.
Well, those guys are out of work for the next 6 to 12 months.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you do that right now? Where like, okay, they will release this movie August 2nd. How do you predict at all what kind of money it's going to make? You can't, right? Like, you can estimate based on like, okay, a third of the theaters are open at a third of the capacity.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's going to be an X's to X's in there. Like, there seems to be so many factors and so many variables. Like, I'd hate to have that job right now.
Yeah.
Actually, if you had that job right now, you're probably furloughed.
Oh, most likely. Yeah. All right. So, we shall see. We'll keep an eye on this one. $25 million, you're right, though, JD. I think they'll make their money back. So we all finally watched at least the first episode of Stargirl.
I actually watched the latest episode just like a few hours before we started this, so I'm completely up to date on it.
So we're not going to do our whole usual spiel because it's a TV show. It's the first episode.
And we're already going to go over.
Right. So, and we're not going to rate it or anything, but I'm just kind of curious.
I want to rate it.
Let's go around the room. First initial impressions, and we'll start with you, John, since you're so gung-ho.
I really like it. It's missing, like, with a CW show, you expect a certain amount of angst, and there's no other way to describe it. It's like there are interactions with some of the characters that for like an empathetic person like me to watch is sometimes painful. And, it gets drawn out and there's miscommunication and there's lots of like pout faces, but this just moves and it moves well. And like the action is great and the storyline is good. And the woman they have playing Stargirl, who, I should have brought this up before I started talking, but you like picked me first. It's really, she's doing such a great job. They're all doing a great job. So And you can feel like there's heart in the writing, but of course that's because, she's modeled after, Jeff Johns'
sister.
Yeah. Who passed away.
Right.
And even in interviews, he said like she was the kind of woman that would just go and do, like, and she led with her heart. So, and it shows in his writing that that's exactly what he's portraying.
Cool. How about you, JD?
Oh, I liked it. I didn't like it as much as John did. Like, I thought it was fine. Like, it didn't grab me, but I also don't think I don't think I'm the target audience. But I mean, it was fine. I do think Brett Bessinger, who plays Stargirl, she's got a future. She's very talented. It's fun to see Luke Wilson. Like, I was kind of, I don't want to say the stars falling because that really isn't true with TV anymore. But I was thinking like you haven't heard much from him in the last decade or so. But it's good to see him working again.
But he's doing a good job. Like, as you watch the episodes, you'll see that, like, for any one of these shows, like, usually it takes like half the first season for the actors to get used to their characters, get into their skins, and start to really hit running. And you can see it already starting to happen by like the third and fourth episodes. And Luke Wilson like starts to inhabit that character pretty well. It's great.
Pilots are hard to watch. It takes a few episodes, if not a whole season, for a crew and a cast to really click with their characters.
Yeah.
And again, I just saw the one. And again, it didn't wow me, but it wasn't like bad. Like it was fine. Like I would recommend it. Like it seemed really good for, if you're into that. Like it's a little different than the CW thing. Like you're right, not nearly as angsty, which is surprising. I was kind of expecting it the whole time. That might have actually colored my opinions beforehand. But it was pretty good.
Keep watching. You'll miss. You won't miss the angst. That's for sure. I mean, it's great. It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it's funny because like my son watched it first and he kept telling me I should watch it, and I'm like, I will. And he was like, yeah, it doesn't have any of the teenage crap that the other CW shows have. And remember, he's an 18-year-old, so it's funny to hear him say stuff like that. And the thing is, it's like this is the first show on the CW where the main character actually is a teenager, and there's no teen angst. I'm like, okay, but it also isn't. It was never intended to be part of the Berlantiverse. It was originally meant for the DC app. You can definitely tell this is a completely different ball field that we're on, and it's good. None of the, it's funny because like even with the comic relief aspect of Luke Wilson's character, a little bit, you still don't.
It's not campy.
It's not yes, that's the word I was thinking. Thank you. It's not campy, it's just good. It's funny. It's done well. Now, JD, I watched the first two episodes. You only watched the first one. I will say this, like, if you really want to give the show a chance, you gotta watch the first two because that's basically the origin is 2 episodes, her becoming Stargirl. And
that's fair to do with any show. You really should give it 5 episodes.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, like, again, so the first primary thing is, no teenage CW, interaction stuff. But the other thing is, like, I'm on episode 4. Is it 4 or 5? I forget. Like, I just watched whatever the latest episode is right now. And, there's a body count. Like, there is menace in this. So.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. The show starts off with the Justice Society of America being wiped out, and you bring Joel McHale in to play Starman, and he gets killed right away. They're showing you this is the kind of show this is going to be. This isn't like we're not joking around here. Like there's seriousness here.
They did kill Starman. I forgot that's what that was.
They killed the whole JSA. Like they're all dead.
So you said Starman, and I immediately went to Jack Knight instead of like the other one. Yeah. They skipped him.
Yes.
Never mind. Go ahead.
Yes, they did.
But yeah, and like I'm on episode 5, and it's bad, man. I mean, like, there's going to be reckoning where the main character has to deal with the fact that, you know, a teenager's idea of what a superhero is and what happens in real life is two completely different things. And you're watching this get set up so that there's going to be, when there's a fall, it's going to be freaking hard. And the way the writing is, you know, I'm getting like flashbacks of Joss Whedon. It's like everybody's open game. Like, you know, in order to press the point that she has to grow up and, you know, become a real superhero, not just the teenage version of it, somebody's going to die.
It's Jeff Johns too. Like he's one of the guilty. He's guilty of up in body counts in superhero books. Infinite Crisis being one of the best examples I can think of where people are just dying needlessly left and right.
Yeah.
Quite gruesomely too.
So is there anything, even given with the what limited we've seen, is there anything that you didn't like about the show so far?
That's the thing. I can't think of anything I don't like about it. And like, there's real menace. They're skipping all the stuff that makes that makes you feel embarrassed for the characters. None of the characters are doing that's the big thing. No characters are doing anything stupid for plot contrivance. They all seem to be moving in the direction that they would given their characterization. So, like, yeah, at one point, there was no point when I was watching any of these 5 episodes that I like wanted to turn it off or move away. I'm actually really, you know, I can't wait for the next episode to come out so I can watch it.
How about you, JD? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's fine. Like I said, this show just didn't grab me. There's nothing bad about it. Not a thing.
Okay, so and maybe I have to watch the other 2 episodes. I have a feeling that they don't get into this, and I do have a slight issue with the setup for it. It starts off, again, we said the JSA being wiped out, and you get the feeling like you're in the 50s in the beginning of the show. Like he's driving an old car, he goes up to an old mansion. There's nothing to give you a feel that you're in modern day. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, and we're in modern day. You know, and it was like...
Well, it's been 10 years,
so. So it's been 10 years since the JSA was wiped out by the, what's the evil, group called? The,
Injustice League.
Yeah, the Injustice League.
Injustice Society.
The Injustice Society of America. I do like that she makes, quite a few jokes about the naming of characters and the groups. But, because again, it was the 50s or the 40s when these characters were created. Like, if this was a group of evil people bent on world domination and they wiped out their enemy, what did they do for the last 10 years?
But they're doing the big bad thing. Like, there's a reason for all of this. They're building up to it.
I don't know. It just seems, I don't know. It feels weird. Like, if the bad guys actually won and defeated the good guys, they would then go on TV and gloat about it and take over the world.
Trust me, like the next 2 you're on episode 2, right? So the next 2 episodes start to go into that, and there is a reason.
Yeah, I guess.
I just think one of my issues with this show is that I just think the Justice League, the Justice Society, works better as a World War II thing.
Yeah, that's the
like. It just, I have a hard time. I think that's my biggest issue with this. Like when James Robinson did the Earth 2 book, like it just didn't click with me that this was the Justice Society. Like I think it loses something when you don't have the innocence of the 40s attached to these characters because they are so of their era. Like I would have liked it a lot better if Stargirl was like the great-great-granddaughter of Starman, you know, and it was like, I don't know. I think it would have been better. That's just me. I just don't think it works as well.
No, and again, that's what I was going to get at. I think that's part of my issue is that I think there should have been a much farther time between it, and there should have been some better explanation of the whole thing because, like, yeah, they do work better as World War II era characters. And also, like I said, and that's the whole thing too, like, no one knows that the JSA even existed. You know, like, how were they having superhero battles and no one knew about it?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, like, we have covert government operations going on all the time that people have no clue about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's just seemed like the weird thing about this world is that, like, there was a Justice Society. Apparently, they were the protectors of the world from evil. They got wiped out, and that was it. Then just 10 years passed after that. It was just like, I don't know. Feels like a plot hole. But maybe that gets explained. I'll have to watch the other episodes.
Yeah, it doesn't work well for me.
I don't know. Like, hey, you yourself said you have to give it a couple more episodes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Give it a couple more episodes. Like, I mean, I'll get it if, like, your preconceptions based on the original material, like, clashes a bit with how this is done because of the timeline thing. I didn't read those books. So, I mean, my knowledge of the JSA comes from all reference material from, newer comics and all that stuff, and references from Bruce Timm's universe and, Smallville and all that. So I just, I don't have that in my head. And so this comes to me as a completely new story, and it works as a new story.
I'm willing to sit back and enjoy the ride, but we'll see if any of these odd plot holes get plugged. So, like I said, we're not gonna rate it. We're not gonna, but we'll go around and we'll just say, are you going to continue watching it, and do you recommend it for other people? So, John, I think I know your answer, but go ahead.
No, not at all. I want it all for myself. No. Yes, watch it, of course. I mean, give it. I'm telling you, like, I think, like, the 5th episode is actually where things are starting to get fairly interesting. And, I mean, this is in the descriptions. They're starting to recruit new members for a new JSA. So, at this point, I really can't wait to see the next episode. So I think at least if you give it till 5, you'll start to get hooked. So yeah, watch it. I think it's well worth it so far, and I think it'll continue to be so.
All right. How about you, JD?
Yeah, I'll check it out again. I'll give it another episode.
All right. You recommend others to check it out?
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, I'm going to keep watching it. I'll enjoy the journey and see where this goes. At least I'll give it a season. We'll see where it goes. And yeah, no, I recommend people, again, if you're tired of, and I feel like with some of the comments we get on social media, some people are tired of the teen angsty stuff of the CW. So if you're tired of that, check this out because it's a completely own thing and it's nothing like the CW shows. So, hopefully it doesn't get folded in to the Arrowverse and changed.
Well, it would only improve the Arrowverse, right?
Unless the Arrowverse destroys Stargirl.
Nah.
Watch it. Famous last words. All right. So yeah, again, we recommend it. And I think that's good. So, before we wrap it up for the week, you guys have any recommendations for the audience? How about you, JD?
Got a new book coming out tomorrow.
Woo-hoo.
Or yesterday.
Yesterday.
As far as when the show gets let out. So yeah, man, give it a shot. New genre, a little superhero-y, a little different than the thrillers I've been writing. So trying something different. Hope it works.
And the book is called
Apex.
And that'll be available on Amazon?
$1.
$1.
Exclusively on Amazon for this week. $1.
Dollar make it holla.
Interesting. Very interesting.
How about you, John?
No, I got nothing. I literally have nothing. Been a busy week for me, so just go see Stargirl. That's all I can say is, like, that's well worth it.
Well, I have a few recommendations. Number 1, keep wearing your face mask so we can finally go back to the movies eventually.
Yes.
2, stay off of Tinder because it's pure evil.
Now, Plenty of Fish is evil.
I don't know, man. 3, if you haven't done so, make sure you check out superheroespeak.com where you can find the podcast every week, all the places you can subscribe to us, and you will find comic book reviews by our good friend D Square. Make sure you check out the D Square podcast. And I will recommend, I'll second John. Watch Stargirl. I'm going to get caught up before next week, and then John and I can talk about it in front of JD. So, on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening. And don't let your kid go out the door. Have a good week.